The galaxy was alive with light. In the center of the grand arena, thousands of alien ships floated in perfect formation. Their hulls glowed like gems, their engines hummed with smooth power, and their weapons shined like suns. It was the day of the fleet showcase, the day when the strongest empires displayed their pride before the entire galaxy. The alien crowds cheered as one empire after another sent their fleets forward. The Zorath Armada appeared first, their ships sharp as blades, coated with silver plates that reflected every star. Then came the RYN Collective, their vessels shaped like wings of fire, leaving trails of plasma in the void. The HR Dominion followed, their warships black as night, edges pulsing with red light. Each empire outshined the other, each trying to prove their technology was superior. In the stands of the arena, beings from across the stars clapped, roared, and even bowed in respect. This was more than a show. It was a statement of power. The galaxy celebrated its strength, its beauty, its progress. And then came Earth. The crowd turned silent for a moment as a strange group of ships entered the arena. Compared to the others, they looked like broken machines pulled from a scrapyard. Their hulls were covered with scars, old paint peeling, some plates even dented from ancient battles. Their engines rattled, their weapons seemed clunky, and their design looked centuries behind. They were not sleek. They were not shining. They were rusting. The crowd erupted into laughter. Alien mouths opened wide, claws tapped on railings, tentacles waved in mockery. Voices rose, echoing through the arena. "Are those warships, or museum pieces?" one alien shouted. "Did they drag garbage into our sky?" another sneered. "Rust ships! Rust ships! Rust ships!" the chant began to spread. The insult cut through the air like knives. The humans on board those vessels heard the laughter. They stood at their posts, staring at the panels, their jaws tight but their eyes burning with fire. They did not reply. They did not show anger. They stayed silent. The Earth Commander, Admiral Rourke, stood on the bridge of the flagship Vigilant. His uniform was plain, his voice steady, but his hands were clenched behind his back. "Let them laugh," he said quietly. "They do not understand." The other officers around him nodded. They too had felt the sting of mockery. But they knew something the galaxy did not. The ships may look old, may look weak, but they carried a truth that could not be seen by the eye. From the stands, alien leaders shook their heads. The great empires whispered to each other with cruel smiles. "This is humanity. These are the people who beg for a seat at our table." Their laughter grew louder. The showcase continued. Alien ships performed maneuvers, their fleets twisting and turning in graceful lines. Weapons were fired at targets, beams of light slicing through asteroids, explosions blooming like flowers in the void. The crowd cheered again, voices thundering. When the announcer's voice declared, "Earth's turn," the laughter returned. The rusting ships moved forward. Slowly. Too slowly. Their engines burned with fire, not the elegant glow of alien power cores. Their movements looked clumsy, heavy, even pathetic. To the galaxy, it was like watching an animal crawl where birds soared. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Admiral Rourke gave a single command. "Fire!" The old cannons roared. Not beams, not lasers, not elegant rays of energy. But metal. Solid shells of steel, hurled into the void at impossible speed. No light, no beauty, only raw destruction. The first shell struck an asteroid target. It did not cut it. It did not burn it. It shattered it. The rock exploded into thousands of pieces, scattering like glass across the void. The second shell hit, and another asteroid cracked apart, chunks flying in every direction. One by one, the targets were destroyed. Not with elegance. Not with style. With power. The laughter in the stands died. Alien eyes widened. Claws froze mid-air. Tentacles stopped waving. The sound of roaring joy turned into silence. Because the galaxy knew one truth, energy shields could deflect beams. Armor could bend light. But no defense was built to stop a solid piece of metal traveling at such speed. No alien weapon worked that way. No alien mind even considered it. In the silence, the humans stood tall on their ships. Their old cannons smoked, their hulls scarred, their engines groaning. But their targets were gone. Utterly gone. For the first time, the galaxy did not laugh. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Admiral Rourke looked at the stars, his voice calm. "This is only the beginning." The crowd did not cheer. They whispered. They muttered. Fear began to take root where mockery had lived only moments before. But above them all, hidden in the quiet of the human fleet, something else burned. It was not only pride. It was not only anger. It was hunger. Humanity had shown only a glimpse, only a taste, of what their so-called rusting warships could do. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. The silence after Earth's first display hung heavy in the arena. The alien crowds shifted uneasily in their seats. A few still forced laughter, trying to wave away the shock. Others whispered to each other, their voices low, uncertain. For the first time, the galaxy had seen the strange power of human weapons. But the leaders of the great empires were not impressed. Not yet. In their private balconies, they sneered. Crude weapons. Simple tricks. They got lucky, said a Zorath admiral, his silver crest flashing in the light. Aowen commander flicked her fiery wings with disdain. Old iron toys. They cannot stand against real fleets. The announcer's voice echoed through the arena once again, smooth and powerful. To prove their strength, each fleet must now face a combat trial. Moving targets, shielded obstacles, live maneuvers. Precision will be tested. Speed will be tested. Power will be tested. The crowd roared in excitement. This was the moment they were waiting for, the challenge of fire. A trial not of beauty, but of survival. The alien fleets took their turns. The Zorath ships cut through the course like blades. They danced through asteroid clusters, fired beams that sliced obstacles in perfect halves, and weaved in flawless patterns. The crowd clapped in rhythm, impressed by their precision. The RYN ships followed. Their plasma trails lit the void like burning ribbons. They destroyed targets while moving at impossible speed, never missing a shot. The crowd rose to their feet, chanting in praise. Then came the HFY Dominion. Their black warships moved like predators, their red pulses smashing obstacles into dust. Their performance was raw, brutal, terrifying. The stands trembled from the sound of their weapons. And then, the announcer's voice dropped lower, almost mocking. Now, Earth. The crowd began laughing again. Some threw objects into the air, shaking their heads in disbelief. This will be slow. This will be shameful, voices rang. Let's see the rust ships fail. Admiral Rourke stood on the bridge of the Vigilant. His officers looked at him, waiting. He simply nodded once. His voice was calm. We don't need to be beautiful. We need to be deadly. Begin. The human ships entered the trial course. They moved forward, slower than every other fleet before them. They did not twist with grace. They did not burn with color. They looked clumsy, heavy, too old for the task. The alien crowd burst into laughter again. But then, the first volley fired. The cannons roared, shells tearing into the first moving target. The shield covering it cracked, shattered, and the entire drone ship exploded into nothing. The next shell tore through a cluster of obstacles, the impact sending chunks of rock spinning in every direction. The humans did not fire beams that grazed. They did not shoot bursts that dazzled. Every shot they made destroyed completely. Where the others carved, the humans shattered. Where others danced, the humans crushed. The laughter died once more. Target after target fell. Shielded drones, meant to resist energy fire, were useless against the unstoppable shells. Obstacles meant to slow ships were instead turned into deadly traps for anything flying nearby. A single shell ricocheted off one broken asteroid and smashed into a second target, by accident. The crowd gasped. Even the alien announcer hesitated in his words. On the bridge of the Vigilant, one officer chuckled under his breath. They think we are slow, he said. But the battlefield will be littered with their wrecks before they know it. Rourke only replied with a quiet, stay the course. The final obstacle was a massive armored drone, built to test endurance. Alien fleets had needed dozens of strikes to wear it down. Some never destroyed it at all. The announcer spoke proudly, let us see how long Earth's relics last against the Iron Sentinel. The crowd leaned forward, eager to watch the humiliation. The Vigilant's main gun fired once. The shell slammed into the drone. For a moment, the shield shimmered, then collapsed. The metal body cracked down the center, and in the silence of space, it split in two. A second later, the explosion rippled outward, scattering fragments in every direction. The arena fell completely silent. No laughter. No jeers. Only stunned faces. The announcer's voice broke after a pause. Earth has completed the trial. In record time. Whispers filled the air. Alien admirals muttered among themselves. Impossible. How can old weapons break modern shields? This is against every law of combat we know. But the proof floated before their eyes. On the bridge, Admiral Rourke stood tall. The galaxy mocks what it does not understand, he said to his officers. But one day, they will understand too well. Behind him, his crew exchanged looks. Some were proud, some were grim. They knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The aliens would not stop laughing with fear. They would test humanity further. They would challenge them again. And somewhere in the crowd, an alien commander's eyes narrowed. His claws tapped the railing slowly, thoughtfully. He did not laugh. He did not whisper. He only said one thing to himself. They must be destroyed before it is too late. The humans did not know it yet, but their trial had sparked something greater than fear. It had sparked hatred. The arena had fallen silent after Earth's shocking victory in the Challenger fire. No one clapped. No one cheered. The galaxy's laughter had vanished, replaced by a silence so heavy it seemed to press against the ships themselves. But silence did not mean respect. In the private chambers of the admirals, anger boiled. The alien commanders could not accept what they had seen. The Zorath admiral slammed his clawed hand against the table. Metal slugs. That is all they used. Simple, primitive. This cannot be allowed to stand. The Awayan commander spread her fiery wings, eyes blazing. They humiliated us before the galaxy. We must break them now, or every empire will question our strength. The HRA Dominion's general leaned forward, his voice like thunder. Then let us end their game. I will challenge them to a duel. One fleet against one fleet. Let the galaxy see who bleeds. Word spread quickly. By dawn, the entire arena buzzed with excitement. A live-fire duel. Not against drones. Not against rocks. But against living crews. Against real ships. The announcement echoed across the stars. By demand of the great empires, Earth shall face the Dominion in a sanctioned duel. Live fire. No limits. The crowd roared with wild energy. Some shouted for Earth to be crushed, to be erased. Others whispered with fear, wondering if the Rust ships truly had more hidden power. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Admiral Rourke stood silent as the news reached him. His officers waited for his reaction. At last, he spoke, so they finally want blood. His second-in-command, Commander Hayes, frowned. They want to humiliate us. They believe the Dominion's Black Fleet will burn us before we can fire a second shot. Rourke's eyes narrowed. Then let them believe. Belief is their weakness. The day of the duel arrived. The Dominion's fleet entered first. 10 ships, sleek and dark, glowing with crimson power. Their hulls looked like predators, their weapons thrummed with energy. The crowd cheered wildly. Then Earth's fleet entered. 5 ships only, scarred and heavy. They looked small beside the Dominion's giants. The laughter returned, though weaker than before. 5 against 10. Rust against steel. This will be quick. The announcer raised his voice. This is a sanctioned duel. No retreat. No mercy. The battle begins. The void came alive. The Dominion fired first. Crimson beams lanced across the battlefield, slamming into Earth's ships. The Resolute shuddered under the impact, its armor glowing red-hot, but it did not fall. The Endeavour took 2 hits to the flank, shields crackling, plates denting, but it pressed on. The crowd cheered. They cannot stand. They cannot last. Then the human cannons fired. The sound was thunder in silence. Shells ripped through the void, glowing with the heat of friction. The first round smashed into a Dominion cruiser. Its shield shimmered, then cracked like glass. The second shell tore through the hull itself, ripping it open from bow to stern. The ship split apart, fire blooming in the void. The crowd gasped. "Impossible!" the announcer cried. The Dominion's cruiser, destroyed in 2 shots. The Dominion admiral roared with fury, ordering his ships to concentrate fire. More crimson beams tore across the battlefield. The Endeavour's armor buckled, explosions sparking across its decks. Inside, human sailors were thrown from their stations. Fire crews scrambled, smoke filling the halls. But still, the ship fought on. The Vigilant fired again, and another Dominion ship erupted into flame. The arena shook with noise. Some aliens screamed in disbelief, others shouted in anger. The laughter was gone now, replaced by raw fear. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Rourke's face was stone. "Target their flagship," he ordered. The Dominion's flagship, larger and stronger than the others, turned its guns on the humans. Dozens of beams fired at once, crashing against the Vigilant's armor. The hull shook, alarms blared, but the ship endured. "Main gun, ready," the weapons officer shouted. Rourke raised his hand, his voice calm. "Fire!" The shell roared out of the barrel, streaking across the void. It struck the Dominion flagship dead center. The shield shattered instantly. The metal tore open, the core ignited, and the entire vessel exploded in a storm of fire. The crowd screamed. Some shouted in horror, some in rage. But none could deny what they saw: the Dominion's pride, destroyed by a single human shot. The remaining Dominion ships hesitated. For the first time, fear spread among them. They had believed the humans weak. They had believed this would be quick. Now, their comrades' wrecks floated in silence. Admiral Rourke's voice carried across the human fleet. "Do not stop. Show them what Earth is made of." The cannons roared again. Another Dominion ship fell. Then another. By the end, only scraps of metal floated in the void. The duel was over. The humans had lost one ship, the brave Endeavour, torn apart by beams. But 5 Dominion ships were gone, including their mighty flagship. The announcer's voice cracked, almost afraid to speak. "Earth. Earth has won." The crowd sat in silence, their faces pale. No laughter. No cheers. Only the sound of fear. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Commander Hayes whispered, "We have spilled alien blood." Rourke's eyes were hard. And now the galaxy will never forget. In the stands, one alien leader whispered coldly to another, "If we do not unite, the humans will rise. And if they rise, none of us will be safe." For the first time in history, humanity had drawn blood among the stars. And the galaxy trembled. The wreckage of the Dominion fleet still drifted in space. Burning fragments floated silently, twisted steel and shattered hulls glowing with fire. Where the galaxy had expected a quick humiliation, they had instead witnessed something darker. Humanity had spilled blood among the stars. In the arena stands, the crowd was silent. Alien mouths hung open, wings folded, tentacles curled. No one mocked. No one laughed. They had seen the Dominion's black fleet destroyed. They had seen the humans stand against impossible odds. And they had seen their first fear. But in the high balconies of power, the great admirals and rulers gathered in anger. "This is a mistake," growled the Zorath admiral, his claws raking the railing. "They are primitive. Their ships are relics. This victory cannot be real." The RYN commander hissed. "And yet, the Dominion's flagship lies in pieces." Our people watched. They saw everything. If we do nothing, humanity's name will spread like fire. The HR general leaned close, his eyes glowing red. "Then we do not let the fire spread. We crush them before they grow." Whispers of conspiracy filled the chamber. Some leaders feared. Some raged. But none understood how humans had done it. Their minds could not accept that ships of rust and steel had broken fleets of fire and light. They did not know the truth. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Admiral Rourke stood in silence, staring at the wreckage. His officers whispered behind him. Some were shaken by the death of the Endeavour. Some were proud of their victory. But Rourke's face was carved from stone. "They will come for us now," Commander Hayes said quietly. "Yes," Rourke answered. "And that is why they will lose." He turned to his officers, his voice steady but cold. "Do you know why we win? Do you know why their ships burn and ours still stand? It is not because our weapons are stronger. It is not because our ships are tougher. It is because of who we are. Humanity has lived with war since we learned to walk on 2 legs. Our history is written in blood and battle. We never forgot what it takes to survive. They forgot. That is the difference." The crew listened in silence. They knew he spoke truth. Humanity had fought itself for thousands of years. Wars that tore nations apart, wars that burned cities, wars that killed millions. While the galaxy built shining fleets for shows of power, humanity built ships meant to endure the worst nightmares. In another chamber aboard the Vigilant, younger officers whispered about the duel. One said, "They fight with honor. They show their weapons like dances." Another replied, "We fight to win. We fight to kill. That is why they cannot understand us." Back on Earth, in the war room buried deep under steel and rock, old generals watched the broadcast. The images of burning alien ships filled the screens. The voices of the galactic announcers echoed through the room. They finally saw, one general said, leaning back in his chair. For centuries they mocked us, called us backward, weak. But they never fought like we have fought. They never knew total war. An older woman, scars across her face, spoke next. Their fleets are works of art. Ours are machines of survival. They admire beauty. We admire victory. Another general whispered, almost with pity, they will never understand. Until it is too late. The galaxy did not know the lessons humanity carried. The lesson of Stalingrad, where men and women starved but never surrendered. The lesson of the Pacific, where fleets clashed and thousands died to the last ship. The lesson of the deserts, the jungles, the skies, where war had forged humanity's soul. Humanity remembered all of it. And they built their ships not for parades, but for survival. Meanwhile, in the Alien Council, cracks began to form. Some spoke of fear. Others spoke of alliance. A few, more cautious than the rest, whispered, perhaps humanity should be our ally. Perhaps they could be useful. But the louder voices roared with hatred. No! If they grow stronger, none of us will be safe. Crush them now, while they are still weak. Orders began to spread in secret. Fleets were called to gather. Plans were drawn in the shadows. Humanity's rusting ships had forced the galaxy to act. On the Vigilant, Admiral Rourke studied the latest reports. Alien fleets were moving. Not officially. Not yet. But he knew. The storm was coming. He stood before his officers once more. They think us weak. They think us primitive. Let them believe it. Because when they come, when they bring their fleets, they will learn the one lesson humanity has never forgotten. His eyes burned as he spoke the words. War is not a show. War is survival. And in survival, humanity has no equal. The officers stood straighter, their pride burning like fire. They knew their ships were scarred, their weapons old, their numbers small. But they also knew what their commander knew, the galaxy had forgotten the taste of true war. And humanity was about to remind them. In the Alien Council, the decision was made. A great fleet would be assembled. Earth would be tested, not with duels, not with trials, but with war itself. In the darkness of the arena, as the crowds left in silence, one alien child whispered to his father, "Why are they so dangerous?" The father, eyes wide with fear, whispered back, "Because they do not fight like us. They fight like humans." And so the galaxy prepared its armies. And Earth, scarred and mocked, prepared its answer. The forgotten lessons of war were about to be remembered. The fleet floated in silence, their metal skins catching the faint light of distant stars. Earth's warships looked old and weak, their rust showing like scars. But inside those ships, hearts beat with fire. The men and women of Earth were no longer afraid. They had tasted victory once, and they wanted more. Admiral Knox stood at the command deck of the Atlas, his hands locked behind his back. The room was tense, but his voice stayed calm. "We have shown them our teeth," he said. "But now they will send claws. The next move belongs to them." A young officer turned, fear in her eyes. "Sir, what if their full fleet comes? We cannot stand against thousands." Knox's eyes narrowed, but he did not flinch. "Then we will show them what humans do when we are cornered." Far across space, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Ambassadors shouted, their voices echoing through the great chamber. They had laughed at Earth's weakness. Now they whispered about Earth's danger. The Zorathai general slammed his fist on the table. "One battle proves nothing. Their ships are old, their weapons weak. Crush them before this fire spreads." But another alien voice, softer yet sharper, cut through. It was the voice of Sarin, the Vayari ambassador. "You do not see the truth. These humans fight like no other. They bend where others break. They strike where others retreat. If we mock them again, we may regret it forever." The chamber fell silent. Some agreed. Some wanted blood. A choice was forming, and it would decide the galaxy's future. Back on Earth's fleet, the crew worked day and night. Engineers patched hulls with scraps. Mechanics turned broken weapons into new designs. They called it the Earth Way, turning junk into gold. What others threw away, humans used to survive. Captain Reyes walked the lower decks, speaking to his crew. He saw their hands black with oil, their uniforms torn, but their eyes burning bright. "Remember this," he told them. "The galaxy thinks we are weak. But that is our strength. They never expect us to rise. They never expect us to win. That is why we will. Outside the Atlas, probes spread through the void. One suddenly vanished. Then another. Nox leaned forward, watching the map. A shadow moved in the dark. The enemy was here. The Council had made its choice. They sent a fleet, not thousands, but hundreds. Enough to test Earth. Enough to crush their spirit. The stars lit up with movement. Alien ships appeared, sleek and deadly, their colors shining like blades. The fleet of Earth faced them, smaller, slower, but standing firm. Open channels, Nox ordered. The screen flickered. A tall alien commander appeared, his face sharp with contempt. Humans, he sneered, you had your small victory. Now you return to dust. Surrender, and we may spare a few of you as slaves. Nox stepped forward. His voice was steady, his eyes like steel. We do not surrender. Not now. Not ever. The alien laughed, but his laugh had no warmth. Then you will be erased. The screen went dark. Silence fell. Then the enemy fleet moved. Earth ships shook as the first blast struck. Shields groaned, metal bent. But humans fought back. They did not fight like the aliens expected. They moved in strange patterns, hiding behind asteroids, weaving through wrecks of old battles. They used every piece of space as cover, every broken rock as a weapon. The aliens fired with power. Humans fought with creativity. A single rusting ship, smaller than its enemy, turned its engines off and drifted silent. The alien hunters passed by, thinking it dead. Then the human ship lit up, its old cannons blasting, tearing two sleek cruisers apart. One by one, the enemy ships began to fall. But Earth's ships fell too. The Atlas shook, sparks raining from the ceiling. Nox gripped the rail. Hold the line, he roared. Captain Reyes' voice came through the comms, heavy with static. Admiral, we can't take much more. Nox looked at the stars, then at his crew. He knew they could not win by strength. They needed something else. Something bold. Prepare the Phoenix Protocol, Nox whispered. The bridge fell silent. The Phoenix was not a weapon. It was a gamble, a dangerous plan, untested, desperate. The crew stared at him, fear in their eyes. Finally, Reyes spoke. Admiral, if we fail, there will be nothing left. Nox nodded slowly. If we do nothing, there will be nothing left anyway. The command was given. Deep inside the Atlas, old engines began to glow. Warnings blared. The ship itself seemed to scream. The Phoenix Protocol had begun. And in the black sea of space, as the alien fleet closed in, humanity prepared to show the galaxy its deadliest secret. The Atlas shook as if the stars themselves were breaking apart. Red lights flashed across the bridge, alarms howled, and smoke filled the air. Yet Admiral Nox stood tall, his face lit by the glow of the Phoenix Protocol. This was not just a battle, it was the moment Earth would either rise or vanish forever. The alien fleet surrounded them, hundreds of sleek ships pressing closer. Their weapons burned like suns, their engines roared like storms. To them, Earth's fleet was a rusting wall of scrap metal waiting to fall. But inside those ships, human hearts refused to break. Nox turned to his crew. Once the Phoenix is ready, there is no turning back. Every ship must give all it has. Today, we prove what humanity is made of. The crew did not answer with fear. They shouted in one voice, "For Earth!" Deep inside the Atlas, the Phoenix engine pulsed. It was no ordinary drive. It was a weapon of last resort, a mix of old nuclear cores, stolen alien tech, and human genius born out of desperation. If it worked, it could turn the very fabric of space into fire. If it failed, the Atlas would vanish into nothing. Captain Reyes' voice came through the comms, firm but heavy. Admiral, the fleet is ready. We're with you. Nox nodded. Then let us begin. The alien commander appeared once more on the comm screen, smug and certain. You humans cling to old junk, to dying dreams. You cannot stop the tide of the galaxy. This is the end. Nox's eyes narrowed. No. This is the beginning. He cut the channel. The Phoenix roared to life. The Atlas surged forward, dragging the rest of Earth's fleet behind it. Human ships weaved through the enemy line, taking fire, breaking apart, but never stopping. An alien cruiser locked onto the Atlas, charging its main cannon. At the last second, a small human frigate broke formation, slamming itself into the cruiser's path. The blast lit the stars, tearing both ships apart. The sacrifice saved the Atlas. Keep pushing! Nox bellowed. His voice carried through every ship, every soul. The enemy fleet fired with fury. Earth ships answered with fire of their own, but they were outnumbered. One by one, human ships exploded, their wrecks drifting like burning ghosts. But with every loss, the Phoenix burned brighter. At last, the Atlas broke through the enemy line. The Phoenix engine screamed. The stars bent, twisted, and flared around the ship. The crew clung to their stations as space itself seemed to rip open. Target their core fleet! Nox shouted. The Atlas unleashed the Phoenix. A wave of light erupted, not like any weapon the galaxy had seen. It was not a missile. It was not a cannon. It was raw power, born of desperation and courage. The light spread across the void, swallowing the enemy ships. Shields shattered. Armor melted. Ships vanished in silence, torn apart by the storm. The alien commander's voice crackled in panic. Impossible, no species could. His words ended as his ship was consumed. When the light faded, silence returned. Half the alien fleet was gone, scattered like ash in the wind. The rest fled, their pride broken, their fear greater than their hatred. On the Atlas, the crew stared at the viewscreen. Wrecks floated everywhere, human and alien alike. But against all odds, Earth still stood. Nox sank into his chair, his body heavy, his voice soft. We held the line. The bridge was quiet. Then a whisper rose, then another, until the crew cried out together, "We won!" But Nox did not smile. He looked at the ruins, at the price they had paid. Humanity had survived, yes. But survival was not victory. It was only the first step. Across the galaxy, news spread faster than light. The Council could not laugh anymore. The rusting warships of Earth had done what no empire thought possible. They had broken the tide. In hidden halls, alien leaders whispered in fear. Some spoke of crushing Earth before it grew stronger. Others spoke of alliances, of respect. And some, though few, spoke of hope, that maybe humanity was the spark the galaxy needed. On the Atlas, Captain Reyes walked the scarred decks. He saw the faces of the living, the empty places of the dead. He found Nox staring at the stars. "They will come again," Reyes said quietly. Nox nodded. "Yes. But now, they know. We are not dust. We are not slaves. We are human." He raised his eyes to the endless night. And the galaxy will never forget it. The stars seemed to listen. And somewhere, far beyond the ruined battlefield, the galaxy waited, no longer mocking, but watching. Watching the species that had risen from rust, and proved themselves deadly.